Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Weinstein. I'm the president. I'm waiting a minute, and I will get back to you shortly. Testing? 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 All right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Weinstein. I'm the president of the Washington Metro Area chapter of NCOSE, and I'd like to welcome you to our August meeting this evening. So if we go to our next slide. So this is what we're going over today, news. Give you a quick overview of NCOSE because we have some new members and a new satellite location that I'll introduce shortly. Lots of volunteer opportunities within the chapter if you'd like to get more active, some upcoming events, and then last but certainly not least, our presentation for the evening. So we have our new Rockville location, and it's hosted by Aerotech Systems Strategies and Analysis, and I'd like to thank Rosemary Murayuki for her help setting that up. We also have locations in Chantilly, Fairfax, and this location at L'Enfant Plaza in DC, and I'd like to thank our sponsors, Aerotech, George Mason, Noblest, the SI organization, and SSA for their help with today's meeting. So we'd like to recognize folks who are at all of the locations. So if we have any current or former chapter or international NCOSE leaders, please stand to be recognized. I was going to say we have two in the room, but only one standing. If it's your first time at an NCOSE event, well, thank you very much for joining us. If you're a new NCOSE member, well, welcome. And if you were recently certified or since the last meeting you attended as an ACEP, CCEP, or an ECEP, please stand and be recognized. Congratulations. So if we go to our next slide. So today I'll tell you a little bit about NCOSE because it's a lot of folks are here for the first time and we have our new satellite location, and just in general it's a good reminder for all of us. So mission of NCOSE is it's a not-for-profit organization founded to disseminate interdisciplinary principles and practices that enable the realization of successful systems. And our mission is to share, promote, and advance the best of systems engineering from across the globe to benefit humanity and the planet. And our vision is to be the world's authority on systems engineering. It's a lofty vision, but one that I subscribe to wholeheartedly. Our goals are to provide a focal point for disseminating systems engineering knowledge, promote international collaboration in practice, education, and research, establish competitive, scalable standards in the practice of systems engineering, improve the professional status of systems engineers across the globe, and encourage governmental and industrial support for research and education that will improve systems engineering processes and practices. So if we can go to the next slide. Well, I'll actually stop and give a little bit more information about NCOSE here. So when you join as a member, you align to a given chapter. So we're the Washington Metro Area chapter, but folks in Rockville, it might make sense to join our chapter or the Chesapeake chapter with whom we affiliate very closely, and that's actually a nice segue to another part of our discussion. So sometimes they'll come to our events. In fact, our speaker tonight, Paul Martin, is a is a proud member of the Chesapeake chapter, and next Wednesday we'll have a flyer to give you more details, but there's a CSEP reception that they have graciously invited us to celebrate CSEPs and ESEPs. So if you're able to attend, please be there. I'll certainly be there, but don't let that stop you. And it should be a really good time. So the other thing I would also say is that it's very in COSI, while we have an international leadership board that makes sure that certain standards are followed and chapters have what they need, we also have very strong local leadership at the chapter level throughout the organization. So it's about 9,000 members, about 890 of them are with WMA, so we're the largest chapter in the world that I'm aware of. So it's a little bit about us and a little bit about NCOSI. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me personally, and be happy to either answer them or find your answer. So there you go. Volunteer opportunities. So being a big chapter, we have a lot of opportunities to contribute and give back. So if we go to the next slide. Our elections are coming up. We hold them in October, and then terms start in January. And we have vice president, president-elect, so that's a 3-year commitment where you come in as vice president, and then you're president the following year, and then you stay on as past president to serve as an advisor to the board. The treasurer, programs chair, tutorial chair, communications chair, and director. And director is really a board position where you come in and fill in whatever we need, and that you can make it pretty much as big or as small of a position as you want to, and COSI certainly has a way of taking any time you want to give it. So, and I guess the ones that I'll go back to are programs chair. That's a very big job where we schedule our guest speakers, and it's great for giving your Rolodex a workout and making sure that we have the superior technical content that the chapter is known for. And tutorial chair is very related to the programs chair, where we hold weekend tutorials to help teach the members about specific topics that really can't be covered in an hour. Those are usually 4 to 8 hours, and we try to hold one every month or two, and we've been pretty successful with that so far, so I think we'll stick with it. So if there's someone you'd like to nominate or you'd like to throw your hat in the ring, please contact Christine Hanna. That's past president at NCOSIWMA.org, and she'll make sure you're on the ballot. So we have some events coming up. I already talked to the upcoming CSEP reception, but the August 23rd tutorial is at George Mason University in Fairfax. It's a free tutorial, but parking is $3 an hour. It'll be well worth it. Dr. Eisner gives a great presentation. It's about thinking outside the box in systems engineering and integration, and that's from 8 to noon. So we hope to see you there. And our next slide. So, wow. Nanotechnology in the Age of Abundance. Matt Meyer, he puts on a great tutorial. I've seen his tutorials as well, so I'm looking forward to his presentation. Still getting October worked out. In November, we have FIRST Robotics, and I was actually involved in FIRST Robotics in a past life in high school, so I only have great things to say about them. And in December, provided we don't get hit with a blizzard like we did last year, we will be having our holiday party. So yeah, we also had 2 other flyers I wanted to advertise. So the Great Lakes Regional Conference is coming up in October in Illinois, and keynote speakers David Long and Randall Iliff. And I also heard that there is an opportunity to take the NCOSI CSEP exam for free if you attend the conference and you're selected for a beta test. So that's another good reason to attend, and looks like they've got a really solid program put together. So if you're able to make it, I'd highly encourage it. And again, the CSEP reception at the Engineers Club in Baltimore, that's next Wednesday, so a week from today. And Dave Long and Courtney Wright will be there as honored guests, but Kristen Baldwin and Mike McNamee will be there as speakers. So should be very interesting, and I hope to see you there. So on for the technical content for today. So we've got Paul Martin here. He's an expert systems engineering professional with over 35 years of experience. He currently works for Northrop Grumman, and he's been everything from a product engineer for General Electric Products Division to a software systems engineer for a multi-million-dollar Navy program. He's currently supporting a government agency's portfolio management office, helping them align with architecture among hundreds of programs. He's also the owner and president of SE Scholar LLC, where he teaches an online NCOSI ASEP CSEP exam preparation course, which he's been teaching since 2009 and had several hundred students go through the class. So without anything further from me, Paul Martin.
I wanted to sit in the back so I could run up here when they thing. So I think I have a. Is my my thing working, or is this testing 1 2 testing 1 2? And where's the clicker? There it is. Yeah. So did it go? You went into edit.
It's right here, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You didn't go to edit. Yeah. Good job. All right. All right. I think that'll go away eventually and stuff. Yeah, I think you just hit allow, right? And then it'll go away. And that'll go away after a while. Go Prezi. Has anybody actually used Prezi yet and stuff? It's a pretty nice program. One reason I like it is you kind of throw up your ideas onto the screen and you try to connect them together and try to make them work. It's pretty nice and stuff. I really want to thank you for inviting me up here to talk about this. One of the reasons why I'm actually doing this, Future of System Engineering, actually about, I think earlier in the year, this year, I did a webinar, and I don't know if anybody got to hear that, and I did the 2020 vision that NCOSE had. And the 2020 vision was a very straightforward vision on how to do it. And then I went to the symposium, and they asked me to do the actual meeting plenary. How do you say it, Maria? Plenary at the end, and I helped work that. You were there, and that was really fun. To be able to see that. And they introduced the new 2025 vision. So I was kind of excited to be able to come here after those two events and try to kind of share with you some of my thoughts on this. And I'm kind of going to take a different tack in terms of looking at this vision, because one of the things I want to know is how your day has been, right? Really? Really, when you start thinking about when you got out of bed, hopefully you were in bed, right? And hopefully your bed had a mattress. And that mattress, I mean, think about civilization. If you were a caveman, most likely you would look for something to make your bedding easier, right? So we've had mattress ideas for centuries, or for since the beginning of civilization. But it wasn't until the 1930s that we get our modern mattress that we all love. And of course, you know, there's the sleep number bed. So we keep improving on these things. You had a alarm clock that you had to turn off, hopefully, unless you're like me, you hope to wake up in time, you know, and just try to make it and stuff. But the clocks have been around for ages, right? You know, probably, I think China had some mechanical clocks in the 8th century. I mean, that's how long they've been around. And it wasn't until the alarm clock, the actual setting a mechanical clock, was patented in 1847, but our nice radio one wasn't until after World War II. And of course, radio by then was all the rage. So they were able to bring and incorporate those two, and that was in the 1940s. And then, of course, this is run off electricity, and so is all the appliances you need to make your breakfast. And actually, electricity is an amazing when you think about it. Now, does anybody know who won the War of the Currents? Tesla and Westinghouse. They won, right? Because the DC was actually Edison and General Electric. They kind of betted on the wrong technology. But what's funny, in New York, if you lived in New York, you could have some appliances made by GE that were plugged in to a direct current. Oh my God, it's just super dangerous. But hey, it's like, it's new and thing. But War of the Currents back in the 1890s. What's amazing about this is that, of course, it took decades to build it out. But if you think about the electrical system that we have today, the distribution system, the way it works, it's the largest system man has ever made. I mean, it just you know, thousands and millions of people, and the way that it's all interconnected, it's absolutely an amazing piece of engineering and stuff. How about your shower? You get up and get in the shower, and of course the Greeks and the Romans had their, well, they were public baths. I guess they didn't mind showering with their friends, but it wasn't until the 1850s when they kind of refound the plumbing things and started working it. And of course, by then, it was pretty expensive to make it work, and so only the rich. It took like another 75 to 100 years before it got down to the point where normal people like us could buy it and get it into our houses and stuff like that. What about the fact you got clothes? You know, you get clothes on. Actually, I listen to this. I'm going to be talking about this a lot. I listen to NPR all the time. I podcast it. So I get Planet Money. So Planet Money did a whole 6 series where they actually talked about the Humble T-shirt and how much effort it took to get a T-shirt from cotton in the United States, where it gets picked, right? It gets shipped as a bale and made into yarn in Indonesia. Huge gleaming factories where the bales go in and the machines take it and make the little thread. They did. That yarn gets shipped to Bangladesh, which is now the clothing capital, right, of the world, where everybody goes, and that's where it gets sewed together, right? Cheap labor, right, as you're doing it and stuff. And from there, it's got to be shipped. It gets on a truck. It's on a ship. It gets on a truck, train, maybe another truck. Eventually gets some distribution center and gets into your store where you buy it for 12 bucks. Well, it took $12 to get to that point, right? And by the way, this, pennies. Pennies. Amazing. And you buy it for $25. Amazing. The infrastructure necessary to get that to work. And the same with your food, if you think about it. I mean, the egg carton's been around since the 1911 or something like that. Actually, it was a bet somebody said, I bet you could make these eggs stop breaking. He came up with the idea and stuff. But the egg itself, you have to have grain to feed the chicken. You have to have the chicken lay the egg. You got to get that egg. You got to clean the egg. You got to distribute the egg. You need it cold while you're doing that. And you're in the store, you take it out cold, you put it in your refrigerator, keep it cold, and then you take it out and make your breakfast. Absolutely amazing. And then your car. What can I say about that? 1886, when the first car was made, wasn't until 1908 when Henry Ford said, hey, I can make an assembly line, started making them cheap for the common man and stuff. We have, 2011, we had 1 billion vehicles. We probably have 1.5 billion now, 3 years later, but you know, these things seem to produce themselves, but absolutely amazing. Again, and the only reason you have a car is so you can ride these great highways, right, as you try to get to work. And you know, back in 1956, we said, well, let's you know, get this highway across the country, which, by the way, allows you to get your food and allows you to get your clothes. So again, this interacting aspects of this working is absolutely amazing. I haven't even talked about the cell phone, right? The smartphone, which is, by the way, smarter than the Apollo program, which went to the moon, right? Really? I mean, what would the astronauts do with that? Oh my God, I could land my limb with this thing. So your office building, all that it takes, architecture and trying to get that to work, your actual computer and the internet, all amazing, incredible devices that have been created by man. As a matter of fact, you could take something as simple as a pencil, little pencil. As a matter of fact, you don't even think about a pencil until you need one. You're like, where is that? And you look and find one. This guy, Henry Petroski, really good writer dealing with engineering, wrote a novel. This is like 350 pages long that just deals with the engineering, technical history, and the story of the pencil. And it's really an exemplar of all the things that are designed and created. As a matter of fact, the reason he's able to do that is because almost everything has this life cycle, right? Somebody has to design it, somebody has to get the materials, somebody has to manufacture it, store it, some logistics to get it into a distribution, to deliver it, for people to use it, and when it breaks, it needs to be repaired, and when you're done with it, you need to get rid of it. That's every device that has been made. It makes you wonder, like, is there a device that you would look at and say to yourself, oh, I could write a novel about that. You know, I could do that. Of course, it'll take a lot of work. Believe me, Podolsky, he spent a long time trying to figure out the history of the pencil and stuff. So we have this beautiful man-made world in 2014 and stuff. One of the things I was wondering about, because, you know, hey, I'm supposed to talk about the future, right? So how good were we in the past looking at the future? If you think about it, we're actually in yesterday's future, right? Somebody was thinking about the future at that time. And how good were we back then predicting the future? Now, what's hilarious about this is I put this whole idea that Isaac Asimov, does everybody know who Isaac Asimov is, right? One of the better science fiction writers that were out there. He made a bunch of predictions back in '64, so that's 50 years ago. And he did it when the 1964 World's Fair was about to go into place. And the World Fair, well, the exhibitors actually said, this is going to be the greatest event mankind has ever seen. Well, you know, they were being high about it, but they were really pushing the idea of the future and stuff. On the way to work today, I'm listening to Planet Money, and guess what they talked about? The 1964 World's Fair and how the future looked back then versus today, 50 years from now. And by golly, they talked about the same things that Isaac Asimov. And by the way, I got this from IEEE. They're celebrating their 50th year for Spectrum. And Spectrum actually talked about Isaac Asimov. And he said 50 years later, this is what he came up with. He said, hey, we're going to have industrial robots. Check. Got that right. We'll have optical wires in order to get our communication. Check. We'll have some kind of robot on the moon to explore it. Check. And he talked about flat screen, big, huge wall TVs. Okay, that may not have been that hard, I guess. You maybe think, oh man, this is great the way it's working. It was 50 years ahead of time. Now, he did kind of mess up the whole moon colony thing, and living underwater, that would have been nice, you know, but it doesn't take long for you to figure out, okay, that's like living on the moon. It's just as hard with a lot of pressure and other things. And then the hover car, he was really hoping that would be on display, but not quite. Now this is, and I could have used a lot of other examples. Actually, I was about to use one of my favorite books is Necromancer. Have you guys ever read that? Who's the author? Gibson, right? William Gibson, or maybe Gibson. And really amazing thing. And that was in '84 when he wrote that, way before the internet, and just kind of envisioned what it meant to interact with the thing. He wrote that whole book, but they were still talking on the cell phone, not the cell phone, they were talking on a payphone and still using faxes. So he kind of missed the whole cell phone idea, but totally understood what it would be like to be in a virtual world and all. So look, prediction is difficult, especially if it's about the future, right? That's Niels Bohr, who was famous for his being uncertain about things, right? And stuff. Or it could have been Yogi Berra. He's a pretty good philosopher too, right? He could have said that. So, but actually, thinking about the future is something that we can't, I mean, sure, we can look at science fiction and things like that, but companies are serious about the future, and they worry about it. They want to know what's next, and they want to try to figure out what are our revenues coming up, what's our industrial scenarios that we need to prepare for and take advantage of if we can, and what kind of strategic plan in order to try to get situated in such a way we can get better returns on our investment. All these can take place as you get these companies to continue to give you their idea of what the future is going to be. You can find them out there. There are plenty of them. Actually, Industrial Research Institute is one of the better ones. But you usually find an article where somebody summarizes, hey, IDC just came out with, you know, the next 10 years, here's what computers will look like, or something like that. So pretty interesting stuff as you're doing that. But you don't have to hire one of these people. It turns out that Fast Company, anybody read Fast Company? Yeah, it's great. They actually have an article called Industrial, what's the title? I got it in here. Sorry, guys. I'll figure this out. We got it. Making better prediction. Here it is. Industrial research looks into the future, and you can too. Love that. It was just a short little article they put together. If you ever read Fast Company, they have little dinky articles in the corner and things like this, and this was one of them. And actually, this was the whole article. That's all they did. They said, hey, do you want to be like the big guys? You know, step one, look at existing trends. Step two, look for trends that are going to become trends, right? The weaker trends. Step three, extrapolate those trends into the future, figure out what it is, and assemble some kind of concept of operations, right? And try to figure out, hey, this trend becomes mainstream. So you assemble a scenario. And then you start backcasting. Okay, my daughter said, backcast? What? That's not a word. I go, no. Well, you say forecast. This is just the backwards of that, right? So we're thinking what is out there in the future, backcast it, and say, what steps do we need to do to get there? So what I want to do is take this paradigm and start talking about INCOSE and what they wrote in their 2025. Did they actually work this through? So what they did was they actually did do steps 1 through 3 rather conveniently when they start talking about computer technologies, right? IT type things where you start leveraging the technology that we feel will indeed get better. Now we're only talking 10 years from now, right? My daughter should be married and out of the house. My wife and I will be empty nesters. Yay, woo! We're waiting. So it's not much. No, yeah, working on it. Yeah, I don't know. Have you met my wife? Seriously. All right, so if you think about where IT goes and what it's going to do, you can think of yourself thinking of these cloud-based high-performance computing that you can start using to really get your system simulations and your modeling worked out a lot cleaner. Immersive technologies where your data visualization with these high performance computers help you visualize a lot better. And then advanced searches, inquiries, make sure that you are reasoning about your system correctly. And then the whole idea to be able to collaborate using these net supported tools and be able to work. It's a great, bright future, you know, as we're thinking this. So these are the trends they see. What does that mean when you get to 2025? And they actually had a scenario in there that says, in 2025, this is what we think system engineering will comprise of. We'll finally understand complex engineering, complex systems. Finally, we will. 10 years. Give us 10 years. Of course, we've been saying that for the past 15, so who knows? Maybe, I think a lot of proponents of the complex system area really feel computers are the key. That if we really get powerful computers, we can finally put this in. I'm just of the opinion the computers can only run what we put in them. I'm just saying, okay, so hopefully we can work that out. The other thing is collaborative engineering, being able to work across any boundary. Your system of systems context will finally be addressed, mainly because you've got this complex system understanding. You start thinking about multiple stakeholder viewpoints as you pull your system together. Composable design, where you're able to make systems that can be broken apart and put back together in different ways. Architecting design resilient systems, and again, this goes back to complex system theory, right? Is being resilient. Something happens, your system's able to respond to the environment and able to continue doing its function, maybe at a reduced function capacity or whatever, but still continue. Also, cybersecurity will be stronger. Your decision support as you leverage that whole aspect of information analysis, big data, right, as we're working those out. And then virtual engineering, that whole immersion into your model and trying to work that. That's the digital thing. Actually, it's amazing. We're like really trying to push model-based system engineering, this envisioning of what it is, and yet the entertainment industry is deep into that. And we just need to kind of get into what they're doing as they're working it. So let's backcast. Did you see that? I didn't. Let me go back. See, backcast. Oh, okay. Let's do it again. Backcast. Okay. That was too bad. Okay, so let's backcast. Let's think about what we have today and think of what we need to do to go forward. So this is actually in the book there. It talks about the path forward as we're doing it. And so what we want to do is start looking at actually 3 roadmaps as we're working it, and then these other areas would kind of be outplays from those roadmaps. The first roadmap is education, where really if we could introduce systems thinking early and really try to make system engineering a part of every engineer curriculum. No matter what you're taking, you take fundamentals of systems engineering. And you have system engineering that's grounded in some kind of theoretical foundation. How many thought we had a theoretical foundation? Well, system science, right? Some say that may be it. I would kind of question it, but as we're working that. But you're right. If system science can work that whole complex system engineering as well, it'll probably work. Actually, if there's one aspect of complexity and system science that I would like to see move forward is emergence, to understand emergence. To me, that would be the thing. But establishing that education makes sense as we do that. The other thing is establishing our research, where we get that down below, right? I talked about our systems thinking. I talked about the theoretical foundations. They will give us the methods and tools we need to do our jobs as we're working it. So that's what we need from research. What about standards? That's where we identify, develop, and evolve standards for the codifying of the practice of system engineering, which can contribute to the system engineering body of knowledge. So that came right out of the book. And basically that allows you to do this, evolve the system engineering book of knowledge, you know, if your standards move up. And of course your standards help you also engage with other industries, government and academia as you're working it. So very important, these 3 roadmaps. There's one aspect here that I actually want to focus on because I think it's actually the one thing that actually can push forward. And that's this whole idea of establishing grand challenges, the whole idea of forcing the future. as we're doing that. As a matter of fact, it's been around a long time. David Sobel actually wrote this great book called Longitude. And you may not know this, but we've been doing ships since the 1300s or something like that. And as soon as you lose sight of land, you're kind of lost. Okay, so you're lost on the planet in a sea, no idea where you are. Now you could, what's the difference of latitude? Your longitude, latitude was easy, look at the stars and stuff, but your longitude, absolutely hard and stuff. As a matter of fact, King Philip of II of Spain, back in I think it was early 1500s, actually offered a prize for somebody to solve this problem. Please solve this problem. And then 150 years later, it's still not solved, right? And the British government put together a prize, and it was a pretty significant prize. It was 20,000 pounds. Does anybody know what that is today? 2.5 million, right? So it was a pretty hefty prize, for somebody to come up with that. Now, you can see how even with that incentive, right, to try to solve this global issue, it still took 50 years, and it took a simple carpenter, right? And that simple carpenter said to himself, hey, if I made a chronometer, a clock, that can survive being on a ship and is accurate, I'll be able to solve this problem. And he was able to do that. It took him, actually, he started it 40 years before he won the thing. He was actually kind of famous for his perfectionism. He made one, he didn't like it. He could have submitted that, and anyway, and he had to kind of fight for the prize as well, because there was another one. It actually took another 120 years before this became a standard, because it was too costly, right? So that's one nice thing about the Planet Money thing about the World's Fair. He goes, oh, they brought all the industrialists, nobody invited the bankers, right? Because somebody has to pay for these things. By the way, this inspired Britain to go ahead and come up with the 2014 Longitude Prize. Now, they're not interested in longitude anymore. They solved that. But they are interested in flight. Can we have airplanes that don't damage the environment? Food, can we make that more sustainable? Antibiotics, helping people who are paralyzed move. The water, can we make it safe and out there? And can we solve the problem of dementia, making people live independently longer? So very noble goals as they're doing that. The other one that you may be thinking of when you think about grand challenges is the X Prize, right? So this first one, I believe, was $10 million, and the second one, I think, was $2 million for that one. I wrote it down because I didn't trust $5 million. So about $5 million. So the suborbital spacecraft right here had to go up twice in 2 weeks, and it had to, of course, go into space. And so there's an actual standard for when you get into space, and they were able to pull it off and win the $10 million. How much did it cost them to do this? Does anybody know? $100 million. So, but to be fair, with all that pushing, right, there's about 3 companies now that will take you up into space. It's actually happened the way they thought. The 100 mile per gallon equivalent automobile, I have to say equivalent because I don't think they're thinking gas. They're actually thinking electrical and other things. That was actually for $5 million. They were able to pull that off. Of course, it's an experimental car. But again, something that can be pushed forward as we're working this. And they've got a lot of neat other prizes too that you may want to look into yourself. The tricorder from Star Trek, if you can actually make one of those actually work, I think they'll give you $5 million for that or something. So Probably cost you $100 million to make it, but still, it's fun stuff. Now, what did our great NCOSE brethren put into the book? So let's find out. All right, so they talk about, and actually, I really appreciate the fact that at the beginning we went actually through the NCOSE mission and all that, because you can kind of sense that they really love that theme and they're going to push it, right? So the core body of System Engineering Foundation, they want that being taught in academia out there. System complexity understood by this time, you know, kind of keep pushing for that. Trusted, resilient systems, as we talked about. Model-based system engineering, let's make it, let's put it out there for everybody to use. System engineering, get it recognized by industries, governments, and academia. Not that I'm saying we have an identity crisis. I'm not saying that, okay? Just because we want others to like us, okay? So, and system engineering established in order to really help with technology assessment and policy analysis. Really try to, and again, this goes back to what they were saying, is can we push the point where, yes, systems thinking is understood by everyone, system engineering by all engineers, and system engineers by a few, right, that can be used for this type of work as we go forward. And of course, system thinking being taught at all levels. Now, I know when you look at this, you're going, what? We were trying to solve the paralyzed guy and trying to make him walk. What is it? Okay, first off, this is 10 years from now. Number two is, I know this is navel gazing type of thing. It's like, well, isn't this what we really wanted all along type thing? But I want you to think about why do we need these things? And it's to service this whole idea of another grand challenge that's actually in the vision statement, and that's the National Academy of Engineering. They had 14 grand challenges. And if you think, you know, right, if we're going to actually solve the nitrogen cycle problem, by the way, you guys know what the nitrogen cycle problem is, right? We have CO2 problem, right? We want to sequester our carbon somehow, put it back into the ground or something like that. But the problem with the nitrogen thing is as humans are interacting with the environment, we're actually taking nitrogen from the plants. Oh, wait, we eat plants. So since pre-industrial times, I think we've halved it. It's gotten pretty bad. So they're very worried about it, right? And they feel we need to fix these things. And as you start looking at all these, you're like, wait a minute, this isn't just engineering. This is system engineering. Right? You're not going to reverse engineer the brain by just engineering it, right? You got to think of it from a systems point of view. That's why I made a big deal about emergence, right? I mean, we can't keep thinking to ourselves, we're going to pull out a neuron and say that's a memory, right? It will never work that way. It doesn't work that way. So thinking about emergence and looking at the holistic, looking at the system, and for what it does is the key to making these things work. And of course, there's a lot of social aspects to this too, right? And some are just plain political. Preventing nuclear terror, I think we go around and start dismantling all the nuclear things that are out there and try to figure out how to get rid of them, right, as we're working through. So you can see these are all very inspiring to do. And with that in mind, do you think the audio will work? We'll find out.
No, it won't.
Oh!
If you give us like 10, not even 10 minutes, we'll make it work.
Should we pause it? Oh.
I mean, if you can talk over it.
No. It's great to hear these guys talk. So let's.
We can do it at the end if you want.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's do that. Actually, it kind of inspires me to move on. I don't believe I can pause this as we're working this. Did I? Oh, it's so. What he does is, this is a guy from Disney talking about actually, again, making these movies and able to doing that immersive visualization of things that you can't see now. You can pull together with your computers and be able to see these immersive type visualization as we're doing. The next guy after that is, I believe, this is like just trying to solve problems is the key to making it work. This guy's interesting. He's been playing Pong since 1980. No, he's gotten really good at it. Actually, it's interesting. He works for IBM, and he wants to gamify society somehow. So I don't know if that's something cool. In other words, you could get a prize for brushing your teeth. Hey, you did good. Give you a little gold star. It's on your little iPhone. I'm a happy guy, right? So he was the guy. And then the guy after this is actually cooler. Well, the gamification was kind of cool. But he actually wants to start figuring out the underwater. It's like one of those great frontiers we've yet to really explore. And he's right. At one point he talks about, we call Earth like dirt, right? And it's only 1/3 dirt. The rest of it's water. You know, we should have called it water. Hey, planet water. But and then this guy, he's the inventor of the internet, Cerf, if you ever seen him. But he wants to take the internet and actually explore it and make it even further than just the Earth. He goes, why don't we make a solar system internet? We'll start making the standards now so that these exploratory ships that are going out there will take these nodes with them, and we get enough out there, people finish their exploration, leave the node behind, and lo and behold, we have a interplanetary solar system internet. Exciting stuff. It's really a good time to think about these things. And if you think about what is it that we're trying to accomplish, and let me make sure I say the right things. The one thing that, and if you think about the grand challenges that NAE has come up with, and having the foundations of the system engineering grand challenges to help those work, all of those are in service to trying to get human welfare and prosperity of society greater and stuff like that. And we're only going to do that when we think about societal needs, be it health, energy, security, shelter, environment, whatever it's going to be. It'll require massive system solutions. This is where I believe the complexity element comes into play. And that's why I think as much as the academic of engineering society is talking about engineers working, that's true. Engineers do, but system engineers are at that higher level trying to make it all work together, as we're doing this. And that's the thing. Even as I talk to you about you waking up in the morning, everything you touched was touched by something else, right? That was working. And it's that kind of inspiration that we need to bring into these solutions as we're doing that. So I say system engineers should be those that actually are the innovators, that are the inventors of that, with that holistic point of view. So with that in mind, let's make a brighter future, right? So with that in mind, as a matter of fact, I got this straight out of the Grand Challenges for Engineering. I was reading it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a great line. Applying the rules of reason, the findings of science, the aesthetics of art, the spark of creative imagination, we can go ahead and forge a better tomorrow. So with that in mind, Alan Kay, who's one of the, I think he created Smalltalk, which is one of the original object-oriented programs that were out there, still around, but he said, don't worry about what anything else was do. The best way to predict the future is to what? Invent it, right? And really smart people with reasonable funding can do just about anything that doesn't violate too many of Newton's laws. And even with Newton's laws, people are thinking we might be able to push them to the brink, right? If complexity does indeed, and system sciences do indeed turn on their promises. Thank you again for listening to my ramblings. I really appreciate it. And I'll take a few questions or anything like that. So, oh, that's great. Let's go back. Because it is inspirational. So, and by the way, I'll sell this poster later. No, I'm just kidding. Wouldn't know what to do with it. Yeah, posters will autograph. Yes. 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 And it's interesting. I got a YouTube channel. SE Scholar has a YouTube channel, and I get like 30 hits. I'm like, oh, right. It's been 3 months. I got 30 people who saw my video, and did you? Doggone it. Put that down to 15. My family did the rest. So I go to these really slick. See if I can go back. Here we go. There we go. Ready? Oh, dang. Let me go back. I went to this one, right, which is from the National Academy of Engineering, and you saw how slick it was. It's pretty slick, right? So I go in there, and they got like 30 hits. I go, well, yeah. I'm just as good as these guys. So anyway. And really, in cozy videos, you ever go to those? Yeah, about 20 hits or something. It's like, whoa, yeah. And then you see the playing cats get millions, you know. I'm like, geez. I'm trying to make a better world, guys, you know? Okay, ready?
Okay, try. I'm going to have to mute you.
Oh, yes, please. Yeah, I'm sure they would appreciate that. Okay, mute me first.
Yep, you're muted. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. We're playing some last second magic.
So one of the things I'll do for you guys is you'll have to go to my site, which I only get like 2 hits a day or something. It's disgusting. But anyway, go to se-scholar.com, and I have a blog. Hit on the blog, and I'll put my notes up along with some links to the books. You know, if you're interested in the books and stuff. You ready?
No, I
can't get it to work.
No, my idea didn't work.
Good try though. And I'll put in the links to some of the articles, and especially.
If it's on YouTube, I can play it on yours.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Huh?
You should just play it on yours. And
actually, this isn't mine.
There's a lot more that goes into it. Like
yeah.
Audio and it's a long story.
Technology! Don't we love it? We're surrounded by it. And so, I heard this one quote. Somebody said, "Isn't technology just anything that's built after you were born?" Right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if it's before you were born, it's the world. You know what? Yeah, of course we have all this stuff. You know. Yeah. So it's all the legacy stuff. All right. Any more questions? Yes.
So Asimov, you know, if
oh yeah.
you go by your slide got it half right.
Uh-huh.
So which half right do you have?
You have to. Sorry, you have to repeat the question.
Oh yeah. He was asking about Asimov. He had it half right. Which one was half? It was the check mark. Was good.
No, I say which part of yours is half right? Or future is.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we won't know, will we? That's exactly why I put it down. Why do we even try? You know, it does make you wonder when you look at the past and people doing it. But like I said, it's big business. People really do try to do it. And believe me, IDC, you can read up on them. They missed it, you know, at several times. Thought certain technology was going to take off, and they didn't. And you can imagine companies investing a lot into those, not making it work. Actually, I have one story where I worked for the Navy. We built this thing called the Cooperative Engagement Capability, and APL was helping us with it, and they had this backplane connection that they really loved. They said, "Oh man, this is really great. It's the best." It's like it's like you're in a toy shop or something. Hey, yeah, can I have that? Okay, we'll give it to you. And they used it. Well, it took like 3 years before the industry said, "Okay, this ain't working for us. Nobody's buying it," and all our manufacturers they stopped making them. And we're like, well, we need these connectors for this machine that we're putting out to the Navy. So we actually had to do a end to buy. I mean, if we had eBay back then, we would have found these things on eBay and bought them all. And so it does make you wonder how we did things back in the day. I actually worked in a company called General Electric. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They lost the AC wars, by the way. Did you know that? But I worked for them, and I had no computer on my desk. So how did I do anything? Just makes you wonder. Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
one thing I was
Yeah,
It's on. Yeah, just talk into it. Yeah, for someone else. Yeah.
one thing that I thought was conspicuously missing from the future casting there was artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And one thing that may have been missing or could be added to the prize stuff is the DARPA stuff, like
Oh, actually, it's funny you mentioned that
vehicle
because
stuff in the desert. And
I
stuff.
actually didn't mention that, but when you read the grand challenges, they actually talk to reversing the brain, right? Reverse engineer the brain. So and it was that they said, look, if you do that, you have two things that'll come out of that. Number one, you'll be able to solve brain problems, right? There are people whose brains aren't working, So if we could fix those, that'd be great. Number two, artificial intelligence. They actually mentioned that. So they were like, oh, if you reverse it, now we'll be closer to making that work and stuff like that. I'm of the opinion that artificial intelligence is way, and I'll tell you why. It's just that we can't figure out how this thing works, and we're not even close, I mean, not even close, and until we get some kind of foundation of understanding how emergence and conscious can come out of these desperate parts that are there, and the network in our brains are more complicated than what you see in the space in stars. It's just absolutely horrendously difficult and stuff. So I just think we got a long way to go and stuff. I'll leave you, any more questions? I'll leave you with one thing. Okay, so I was listening to Planet Money, and of course they're going to talk about the price of socks, right? So the price of socks went down. Isn't that great? But the design of socks didn't change in 50 years. So I'm pretty sure you'll find a lot of stuff that will not change in the next 10 years too much. If anything, I think my wife is hoping for a backlash on the whole Facebook / Twitter / whatever Vine, and people stop using it because oh wait, we should talk to people. Maybe we should actually talk to people. But it is interesting to see these new technologies and the way they affect the next generation as they come up. When I see my 3-year-old daughter take a magazine and try to make it work, you're like, whoa, okay. That worked out really quick. So, yeah, no, that's all right. Pass.
One of the I think just killer issues about forecasting, you're talking about seeing what a trend is.
Yeah.
The trouble is things are moving so fast now that those trends interact. And by the time those trends interact, and
they'll come up again with the emergence. I mean, they'll come up with something that you never thought of. It was like, what?
So the whole computer stuff, okay? You're talking about some limitation on computers. Well, okay, unless they work out the quantum computer stuff, which they seem to be doing very rapidly. And that
Yeah.
just changes
everything, as we're
everything.
working ahead.
And it's
Yeah.
almost like, wait a minute, I can't do anything because I'm completely paralyzed because I don't know.
Yeah. No, I know how
I just
that feels.
can't forecast.
My
So
new
I-
job, I feel that way. Actually, I didn't even mention that, but it's easy to take trends, like you said. The one thing I didn't talk about is the disrupting things that nobody can see, right? I talk about 1964 as he was thinking about the future. They had things in the future. IBM had their computers there, but these were computers from 1964. I mean, nobody looked at that and said, "Oh, I'm going to have that in my home one day." You know what they looked at? The Select typewriter. They said, "I'm going to have that in my home one day," right? So they were more excited about the typewriter than these computers. Even the public were bored with the computers. It's like, it's big. What's it do? Really? So there was no vision there, right? So it's that kind of disruptive things that are very difficult. And you might be able to get, like, what, maybe 5 years on it, maybe, but no way even 50 years. Yeah. All right, thank you very much. Well, we'll let you go. Yes. Oh, let's get you over here.
So it's sort of a comment.
Mm-hmm.
Being multiple decades old, I started out with vacuum tubes.
Sure.
And you see where we are now.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed is as the technology develops, how is it making quality of life better?
Right.
And that's the thing. I watch my grandparents either work on a farm or cook. Those processes were integrated. Some of the food my grandmother made was a complicated process.
Yeah.
And so, the engineering's great. It's just, how's it improving our quality of life?
No, I absolutely agree with you. And that's where I think that's what's nice about some of these grand challenges. Even the X Prize, I didn't say what the X Prize's actual mission. And their mission is to push technology for the betterment of mankind. And even these, as you look at the National Academy of Engineering, I didn't get into them all, but most of them, like, helping the planet or other things, are to make and serve the actual societal needs. I have to agree with you that we need to take that into account. I should stop now. It's 8 o'clock.
One more.
One more. Oh.
Who has the microphone?
It's coming.
So we have a question from our group in Chantilly. One of the Biggs Box home improvement stores has a holodeck now. Is anyone looking at using this kind of visualization for model-based system engineering?
Yeah. No, so think about what a holodeck would be. And most likely what they're doing for home improvements is say, let's put your home in here visually and then show you what these new kitchens and stuff like that are. And I believe model-based. So it's a little different than when you're trying. That's what's interesting about, you can't just say model-based engineering and say, oh, it must be a visual virtual world. Not necessarily, right? I mean, if you're modeling a certain process that you want to try to work through the mathematics of it to make sure it works, and then of course you have your model in there, maybe graphical in nature, may not be a whiz bang, oh hey, looks great, type thing. Now I think we want to get to the point where we can start actually, if you think of Boeing, oh my God, they know how to model their airplanes, right? When you go in, that's a holodeck, if anything. I mean, you can actually lift up in the floor, look at all the wires, and all the wires have the little tabs on them. It's all virtually, that they do it, because they need to know exactly where everything is going and what they're doing, and they work with their vendors to do that. So, brave new world. So who knows if we get into that? So we're doing that. So let me end it up. Thank you for listening to my ramblings. I really appreciate it, and thank you.
And on behalf of the chapter, I'd like to thank Paul Martin for his excellent presentation this evening, and I'd like to thank everyone in attendance for being here and everyone at the satellite locations for attending remotely. So thank you all very much and have a great night.
Guys, thanks. Thank you.